Yo, Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Marino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test. Expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess. What's happening next? He got the venom, a tangible weapon. No coming in second, this life is a lesson. He got a new engine from...
What up, Fin fans? Welcome to another episode of the Fin Posse Podcast. I'm your host, Big C, and this is brought to you by Game Changers Media. How is everybody doing this wonderful Monday morning? Another beautiful day to be alive. Man, yesterday was the Super Bowl Sunday. Again, disappointing that our Miami Dolphins have not seen this game since the early 80s. When you talk about it, doesn't even seem real, right? Doesn't even seem real that a franchise, and I feel like our franchise is one of the more, one of the franchises with a rich history. We have the only undefeated team in NFL history. We have multiple Super Bowl wins. We've been to numerous Super Bowls. Some of the greatest players in NFL history have played for the Miami Dolphins. Yet we haven't been to a Super Bowl since the early 80s. Now we got there a couple times in the 90s. Early we got up at around there in the 90s. We made it to a couple of AFC championship games. Just haven't been able to get over the hump. We had some really good teams in the late 90s, early 2000s, the Jason Taylors, the Zach Thomases, the Pat Surtain, the Sam Madison teams. We had really good defenses. Unfortunately, the offense didn't match. And then for the last 25 years, it's just not been a good look for this franchise. The last 25 years have been bad. And 25 years, it seems like such a long time, but it seems like it went by like that. You know what I mean? And now I'm 25 years older, thinking that, eventually the Miami Dolphins will get it right. And yet they haven't. Gotten it right. They haven't gotten it right. We have no playoff wins in the last 25 years, but hopefully that's going to change. And I'm not going to lie. I've been very critical of the moves that the Miami Dolphins have made this offseason, but I'm going to try to be more positive simply because of what I watched last night. What I watched last night was a first-time head coach, similar to the Miami Dolphins, a defensive-minded first-time head coach, like Miami has. Go out there and the defense put on a clinic. They won a Super Bowl, first time head coach with not a lot of coaching experience, right? He's got some. And I would like I'd argue that his coaching experience is more more significant than Coach Hafley's. I I mean, I feel more comfortable with Coach McDonald's coaching history than I do with Coach Hafley's. Coach Hafley's been a head coach, obviously, and Mike McDonald never was a head coach, but I feel like Mike McDonald had a more significant role with the Baltimore Ravens than Jeff Hafley had over the course of his career. Now they were both defensive coordinators before accepting head coaching jobs. McDonald was the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. Coach Hafley was the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers. But Mike McDonald had been with the Baltimore franchise in numerous roles for quite a while. So, his stability with the Baltimore Ravens, and we all know that the Baltimore Ravens have been one of the better teams in the NFL. They haven't gotten over the hump to win a Super Bowl, but they've been one of the better teams in the NFL, and they've had one of the better defenses for a long, long time. But anyway, enough of that. Yesterday, the Seattle Seahawks took on the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. Of course, I was cheering for the New England Patriots, not the New England Patriots. I was cheering for anybody but the New England Patriots. I've said it all year that the New England Patriots, man, they had an easy schedule. They had an easy path to a division title this year, with Buffalo taking a step back. Obviously, Miami fell off. But man, the easiest schedule in the whole league. And then they get to the playoffs. CJ Stroud straight hands them a game. Straight hands them the game. And then they go to the conference championship, and Bo Nix is unable to play. And I truly believe if Bo Nix plays in that game, the Broncos win that game, no question. But it is what it is. You got to give them credit where credit's due. You beat the teams that are in front of you, and that's all that you can do. And the New England Patriots did that, and they found themselves in a Super Bowl under first-year head coach Mike Vrabel, under second-year quarterback Drake May, and a team that won 4 games the year before found themselves in the Super Bowl. So that's a positive outlook for the Miami Dolphins. Before I do any more, let's say hello to the chat real quick. Sorry, I got a little talkity. Lombardo, good morning. Good morning. Bonnie, good morning. Marcos, good morning. Cap, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. But anyway, a lot of people had the Patriots in this game. I felt like this team was overrated. I felt like Seattle was one of the better teams in the league this year. But I was always apprehensive of putting a lot of stock in Seattle, simply because I've watched Sam Darnold fall apart far too many times. Sam Darnold was phenomenal with the Minnesota Vikings last year. They got to the playoffs, and the old Sam Darnold resurfaced, showed his ugly head again. So I was waiting for that. Well, I got to be the first to give him his props. That Sam Darnold never showed up this year. I waited for it in the second round of the playoffs. Nope. Championship game of the playoffs. Nope. And then I was like, for sure against the Mike Vrabel defense, New England Patriots have one of the better defenses in the NFL, that Sam Darnold was going to blow it. Well, folks, he didn't blow it. He was clearly the better quarterback on the field yesterday. Sam Darnold outperformed Drake May 100%. Did Sam Darnold have the greatest of games yesterday? No, but he didn't need to. But Sam Darnold did not make the key mistakes that we come to expect from Sam Darnold in crucial moments. Those mistakes didn't come. Those mistakes didn't come. So the Seattle Seahawks end up, this game wasn't as close as what the scoreboard says. 29-13. Seattle wins their second Super Bowl of all time. And if it wasn't for Christian Gonzalez, who played out of his mind, Christian Gonzalez he's definitely a top 3 corner in this league, in my opinion, for the New England Patriots. If Christian Gonzalez doesn't play the game that Christian Gonzalez did yesterday, this game could have been ugly. This game could have truly been a blowout. Christian Gonzalez made a great play on a deep ball from Sam Darnold that was right on the money. The Shaheed was going to hit his head off the goalpost, and Christian Gonzalez just made a great play. Christian Gonzalez was making great plays all over the field. You know what I mean? He was making great plays all over the field. He kept them in this game. It was 9-0 at halftime. The game was still in reach. New England's offense just could never get it done. This defense for the Seattle Seahawks just was lights out. They had 6 sacks. Sam Darnold was 19 for 38, 202 yards, 1 touchdown. He only took 1 sack. Kenneth Walker, in my opinion, player of the game. Kenneth Walker, they rode this kid, 27 carries, 135 yards, 5 yards a tote. He had a touchdown at the end of the game called back because of an offensive holding, which was kind of questionable. But if you would have added that play on, 100%, Kenneth Walker, player of the game. If it wasn't for Kenneth Walker, Seattle probably wouldn't have won this game. Receiving, Cooper Kupp had 6 catches, 61 yards. A.J. Barner had a good game, 4 catches, 54 yards. Shaheed, 2 catches, 27 yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he dealt with a bunch of injuries in this game. At one time, he's taken out for concussion. Another time, he had an issue with his ankle. So he wasn't a huge part of this game. They tried to get the ball to him early and often. But again, Christian Gonzalez had a great game. And that New England Patriots defense was nothing to scuff at. That New England Patriots defense had a decent game. And there was a couple passes by Sam Darnold that were so close to being pick sixes. They were damn close to becoming pick sixes. Drake May was not good in this game, folks. 27 of 43, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 6 times. Those 2 touchdowns came in garbage time. This game was decided. I mean, I'll give him credit for the 1 touchdown, the Mac Hollins catch. There was still time left. They still had a chance at that point. And then Drake May forced a ball that was intercepted that pretty much put an end to the game. Drake May, 5 carries, 37 yards. That's been his bread and butter during this playoff run, is his scrambling ability. Stevenson, only 7 carries, 23 yards. Henderson had 6 carries, 19 yards. They were not able to get the run going against the Seattle defense. Matt Collins, 4 catches, 78 yards in the touchdown. Douglas caught quite a few passes at the end of the game, 5 catches, 45 yards. Sean Stevenson, again, a bunch of catches at the end of the game, 5 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Diggs was a non-factor, 3 catches, 37 yards. Hunter Henry, 3 catches, 31 yards. Seattle had 335 yards. The New England's 331. Again, a lot of garbage time yards. Passing, Seattle 194, the 252. Rushing, that's the big number right there, 141 to 79. Yards per play, New England was a 4.9 to 4.7. Again, a lot of these stats are misconstrued, though. New England was not able to do anything on the offensive side of the ball when the game mattered. They were unable to do anything when the game mattered. So the stats look better than what the game was. Total plays 71 to 67. Sacks allowed 6 to only 1. The Patriots punted 8 times to the 7. Penalties 3 for 25, 4 for 25. I felt like the refs let them play for the most part. Fumbles lost, 1 by New England. Interceptions thrown 2. I said before this game took place, it was going to be which quarterback made the mistakes. It was obviously Drake May. And the New England Patriots lose. And the Seattle Seahawks and first-time head coach Mike McDonald are Super Bowl champions. Sam Darnold is a Super Bowl champion. Did you ever think that those words would come out of your mouth, that Sam Darnold would be a Super Bowl champion? I know I didn't. I know I never thought that Sam Darnold would end up being a Super Bowl champion. This is the same guy with the New York Jets was saying that he was seeing ghosts. And now he's a Super Bowl champion. That just shows that hard work, determination, and you got to keep grinding. You got to keep grinding. So the question I ask is, if the Seattle Seahawks can do it, why can't the Miami Dolphins? If the Seattle Seahawks can go out there and hire a first-time head coach, a defensive-minded first-time head coach, and get to the Super Bowl fairly quickly, why can't the Miami Dolphins? I mean, this roster had a pretty big turnover. You know, they switched quarterbacks. They moved on from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold. They traded away DK Metcalf. They relied on Jackson Smith-Njigba, which Jackson Smith-Njigba is, he's a stud. He's a stud. And I don't want to hear that. We got Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle is not on par with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Jalen Waddle is not the receiver that Jackson Smith-Njigba is. I wish he was. I really do. Waddle could be a nice piece, but Waddle is not a true number one receiver. We're going to have to address that and figure that out. JD says poor management at the top for decades. Well, we got new people up there, so hopefully things can change. Hopefully things can change. Now again, I asked the question, why not the Miami Dolphins if the Seattle Seahawks can do it? Yeah, I am still a little bit apprehensive because, I went and took a look. Mike McDonald hired an offensive coordinator that he had no history with. He hired him because he was the best person for the job. And that's one of the things that concerned me about Jeff Hafferly. I feel like there was just too many hires on this coaching tree that were made because he has a prior relationship to him. Mike McDonald and Clint Kubiak never worked together. They never worked together before. Mike McDonald just liked how Clint Kubiak went about his business. He liked his ideas. He liked the performances that he'd seen from him from afar. So he went out and he hired the best possible prospect to be his offensive coordinator, not his buddy. So again, I do have concerns about that. I really do. I know people say that's normal, it's normal, it's normal. And I agree, it is normal to a point. It is normal to bring a few people along. I just don't like how many people on this coaching staff have worked with Jeff Hafferly at one point or another. You know what I mean? There's not enough diversity on this on this coaching staff. There's not enough, hey, I like this guy, I like the way he does things. I like what I've seen from him on film. It's just, yeah, we've worked together somewhere at one point in time, whether it was at Ohio State or Boston College or you know what I mean, Green Bay or Tampa Bay or you know what I mean. Just too many people that we've hired that have worked with Jeff Hafferly at one point or another. Whereas Clint Kubiak didn't work. He didn't work with Mike McDonald at all. They had no prior relationship before he became the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. And now he's becoming the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. What connection did they have, JD? So again, I do feel better watching Mike McDonald, and that defense looked really good. That defense looked really good for Seattle, and they don't have the huge names on that defense. They have some bigger names on that defense, but not a lot. Not a lot. They do have Nick Emilwari, who I really wanted the Miami Dolphins to draft last year. Big time, big bodied safety. Leonard Williams. They got some good pieces. Dexter Lawrence. He's on the down end of his career. But that defense dominated New England's offense last night. They held them in check. Now, I don't think New England's offense is all that anyway. But again, this is the Super Bowl. They went out there and dominated. It was a hell of a show by the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm super glad that this New England Patriots team had to take a step back because they had their chest puffed out, thinking, oh, here we go again. Another dynasty, another Tom Brady-esque era. Another Tom Brady-esque era that they were just going to dominate the league for the next 20 years. And they had to take a step back. Today, the New England Patriots fans got to look in the mirror and realize and tell themselves that Drake May isn't Tom Brady. Because they started to get in their feelings and, their imaginations were taking over and they were envisioning, another decade plus of dominance because of this first year turnaround. They weren't willing to take into account that you had the easiest schedule in the NFL. You weren't willing to take into account that you got lucky that Bo Nix had to sit out the championship game in the conference finals. You didn't take into account that CJ Stroud just had a historically bad game in the divisional round of the playoffs. Now, New England won the games that were in front of them. They did their job. So you can't be mad at them. But them fans in New England got a little bit delusional. And I'm glad that they had to take a step back. Bonnie says, hiring someone you don't know doesn't always work out either. Mike McDaniel hiring Vic Fangio, that's all. Listen, Vic Fangio and Mike McDaniel didn't work out because their personalities were so different. But Vic Fangio had that defense playing pretty good football. Just Vic Fangio is such a old time, old way type of coach, and Mike McDaniel was. We all know that he was letting the inmates run the asylum, and Vic Fangio wasn't down with that. But Bonnie, I do think there's got to be a balance. I'm okay with you bringing some of the people you feel comfortable with. I'm okay with that, and I understand that happens. I'm just saying not everybody can be that guy. It comes down to, are you bringing this guy because he's best for the job or because you feel more comfortable with him? And I don't think you can say honestly that every instance the guy that you have a history with just happens to be the best guy for the job. Every time? No. Every time? That can't be true. I just think that can't be true at every instance that, maybe sometimes it is true. Maybe the guy that you feel comfortable with is the best person for the job. But like I said, Mike McDonald went and got Clint Kubiak because he felt like he was going to be the best offensive coordinator and he could run the offense while Mike McDonald ran the defense. It wasn't because he worked with him in Baltimore. He didn't. You could see the moment was too big for Drake May. Yeah, I mean, Drake May struggled. They struggled. Now, New England, to be fair, they don't have a ton of playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Will Campbell was out of his league last night. New England's number one draft pick from last year. I don't know if he was dealing with injuries or whatnot, but he just couldn't hang with that Seattle defensive front. They were eating his lunch all game. New England was unable to get the running game going, and you made them one dimensional. And then Seattle got a lead. It wasn't a crazy lead, but you were up by 2 scores going into the second half. That type of pressure on a young quarterback, uh, that's a recipe for disaster. You get a young quarterback feeling like he's got to make a play, and then he starts forcing things, and then next thing you know, there's a mistake that happens. Now again, New England had an opportunity to make a comeback in this game. He hits Drake May hits Mac Hollins deep, and Mac Hollins doesn't get enough credit, folks. Mac Hollins is a good player. He catches the damn football. He's a guy that every team should be trying to sign. Would I make him a starter, a one, a two, even a three? Probably not. But you gotta have a game plan weekly that involves Mac Hollins because Mac Hollins is a playmaker. He's a playmaker. He's a playmaker. But yeah, I mean, I feel I'm glad that New England lost. I'm always down for New England to lose. That's a great thing. How good can Seattle be for the years to come? This is a young team. This is a young team. It's way too early to talk about next year, but is it? Is it? Now Seattle's losing their offensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak is taking the job with the Raiders. We'll see how that goes. We know that it's not always easy to replace coordinators. We know that's not always an easy job. Again, I don't think Miami's going to have that 1 year turnaround and compete for a division title this year, obviously. We just have too many things going on. We got too many things to fix this year. But in 2027, I don't see a reason why the Miami Dolphins can't be in a similar situation to the Seattle Seahawks. I don't see why we couldn't be the 2027 version of the Seattle Seahawks. Jeff Halfley and Coach and Sully build this roster up. You get the pieces that you want on this defense, and you turn into a defensive team. And hopefully Coach Half is the defensive coach that we hope he can be. And he can get this defense playing at a top level. Because there's some good defenses in the AFC. You got Denver, you got Houston, you know what I mean? Baltimore is typically good. You got the Browns, New England. There's some good defenses out there. And I'm curious to see what happens. Now we have what's next? What's next on the plate? We got to make a decision about Tua Tagovailoa. There were rumors going around at the Super Bowl that Tua will be either released or traded. Tua's got guaranteed money coming up here at the beginning of March. So the Dolphins are going to have to make a decision. Either you're cutting them, you're making them a post-June 1st cut, or you got to do something. You got to do something because he's got some guaranteed money coming, along with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, without a question, is going to be a post-June 1st cut, without question. Tyreek Hill is out the door before March 1st. How do you think Jets fans feel knowing they had a good quarterback and let him go and still haven't found a quarterback? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to begin to think like a Jets fan. Obviously, if that was me, I'd be highly upset. But you know your franchise. You know how your franchise is. You know your franchise messes up quarterbacks. I'm sure it is disappointing. You went out there and drafted this guy. You went out and got Sam Darnold in a draft that included Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. And you took Sam Darnold. And now Sam Darnold, which is crazy to think, Sam Darnold was drafted the same year as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, yet Sam Darnold is the first one to make a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. Did you think that would ever come out your mouth, that Sam Darnold would win a Super Bowl before Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, or even get to a Super Bowl before those two guys? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And Lombardo's right. We don't have enough good players to make that turnaround this year. But we should have enough after this year. Because we're going to get rid of Tyreek. We're going to get rid of Tua. We got a full draft class to go and build this roster with. We got another year for our young players to grow. Hopefully they take the next step. Hopefully this new coaching staff is filled with a bunch of teachers, a bunch of guys that can help develop the young players on this team. Now, some of them young players on this team might not be a scheme match for what Coach Hafley's trying to do. Again, Coach Hafley's, these players were drafted on the defensive side of the ball to run a 3-4. Coach Half runs a 4-3. Will he run some 3-4? Absolutely. All coaches run a variation of both. But more than likely, most of the time, we're in a 4-3. Some of our young players might not fit that scheme. So I mean, it's gonna be very interesting. I can't wait to see it start playing out. Again, this year is gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough year. It's gonna be a tough year. But hopefully we hit home runs with the draft. We get good players that help this team become more well-rounded. I just want good football players. Guys that don't mind getting dirty, physical, tough guys that don't take no nonsense. That's the type of football players I want. They don't just see this as a job, that they love it. They love this shit. That's what type of players I want. I want the type of player that would play this shit for free if you couldn't get paid for it. For real. I want the type of player that would play just to play. Now, of course, these guys get paid millions and millions and millions of dollars. But I want the guy that would go out there and play if it was for free, just because he loves the game of football. And if we can find a bunch of players like that, I think this team will be all right. But I do have more confidence in this team than I did just a couple days ago. Seeing Mike McDonald win this Super Bowl as a first-time head coach, a defensive-minded head coach, definitely gave me a kick in the ass. And I'm trying to be positive. I'm going to look at the bright side of things. I'm going to give it a chance to play out. I'm going to give it a chance to play out and see what happens. But it is what it is. Another year in the books. Now we have free agency to look forward to. Of course, the draft after that. People are going to start getting franchise tagged. People are going to have to make a decision about signing bonuses, this, that, and the third. There's a lot of guaranteed money coming up when the new year starts. So a lot of decisions to be made. I'm guaranteeing that Tyreek is a post-June 1st release. Again, I've said it more than one time. I think the Miami Dolphins should take their medicine and just eat to his whole contract this year. Don't make him a June 1st. Eat the contract this year. The whole thing. The whole thing. Eat the whole contract. We're not going to be very good this year. I seen Doug made a video today. Should we sign Kirk Cousins? For what? For what? Why would you sign Kirk Cousins? Why? I don't get people's train of thoughts. I really don't. What does Kirk Cousins do for you? What does Kirk Cousins do for you? What does bringing in Kirk Cousins do for the Miami Dolphins? It takes us from a 3-win team to a 5-win team. No, thank you. No, thank you. I have no want to win 2 more games. If Kirk Cousins isn't going to put you in a position to win playoff games, why bring him here? We don't have money to add playmakers. We don't have a secondary. This team is not in a position to compete this year. So why would you bring in a quarterback that may help you win an extra game or two? At the very best, maybe three. Maybe three. Maybe if Kirk Cousins starts the whole year, he would win 3 more games than somebody else. But what's 3 plus 4? 7? Do you guys want to win 7 games? I don't. All that does is hurt us in the long run. And I'm not here for it. It makes 0 sense to me. Signing Malik Willis makes 0 sense to me. Signing Kirk Cousins, 0 sense to me. For what? All of those moves, in my opinion, just my humble opinion, hurts this football team in the long run. Nobody's going to look back and say, hey, when you sign Kirk Cousins, that's when this franchise made the change. That's when this franchise turned the corner and ended up being successful. That was the first bit of brilliance by Coach Half and Sully, bringing in Kirk Cousins. They did a swell job. They turned that franchise around. No one's saying that. Stay away from these older guys. You go give Quinn Ewers a shot. Give him a shot. What's the worst that's going to happen? Draft a young quarterback to compete in the later rounds. Don't go get you a third round. I don't want no quarterback in the third. Take a big physical quarterback in the 4th, 5th round. Maybe Drew Allar from Penn State. And let him go out there and compete with Quinn Ewers. But that's what I would do. No to Kirk Cousins. No to... First off, we don't have the money. Where are we getting all this money from? Where do we get this money from? Malik Willis want $20 million a year, probably. That's no. This season strictly should be getting the current players that we have here, that evaluating them, Coach Half evaluating them, Sully evaluating them, seeing if any of the guys that were drafted by Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, seeing if any of those guys you want to keep from 27 on. Seeing if any of those guys you want to keep, evaluating them. Getting this roster accustomed to whatever schemes you're running. Getting the defense to learn the 4-3, getting it down. Drafting young new players to come in and compete. And then again, just competing and finding out what you have on this roster moving forward. Do you got a quarterback of the future? Maybe we draft a Drew Allar, he comes in and, he shines. Maybe Quinn Ewers, takes a step forward and shines, and we don't need a quarterback after all. That would be best case scenario. That'd be huge. If Quinn Ewers just came out and had a monster season, or whatever quarterback we draft in the later rounds comes and just, makes magic happen, how great would be that for that? How great would that be for this franchise? That'd be huge, monstrous. Yeah, but Bonnie, that's not smart. That's not a smart move. They're going to win as many games as they can. They know they're not in danger this year. They know that they can lose as many games as they want, and Ross isn't going to fire them. Except if they go 0-17, maybe Ross steps on them and, says, hey, I wasn't expecting that. But I don't think Ross is firing them for winning 3 games and getting the number 1 pick in the draft and then explaining to Ross that, hey, it was part of your plan. Obviously, Ross is all right with those type of plans. You know what I mean? Obviously, Ross is all right, laying down a little bit in order to make the future brighter. We've seen that before, right? But yeah, Seattle is your Super Bowl champions. Hopefully the Miami Dolphins can follow suit, copy the blueprint, get things done. A long time away from the next meaningful football, but we're here. We'll discuss everything. We'll break everything down. And hopefully this, we'll start to get an idea of the type of guys that Coach Half wants, the type of guys that Sully wants, and we'll see what moves they make. We'll see how many ex-Packers become Miami Dolphins in the next 4 months. But I'm about to get out of here. I got some things to do. I love you all. I appreciate you all. What do we got going on? We're going to start breaking down free agency, the draft, going through positions of need. So we're going to take a look at the quarterbacks, 100%. Offensive linemen, 100%. Wide receivers, 100%. Edge rushers, 100%. Linebackers, 100%. Corners, 100%. And safeties, 100%. So damn near every position we're going to have to take a look at. We're going to break down the top 5 in each category. And then we'll do some mock drafts, see where players are landing, investigate some of the players that have fallen to us. But yeah, Seattle's your champions. New England, eat one, eat a big fat one. I'm glad that you lost. I'm glad that they have to feel like dumpster juice today. That's a great feeling. That's a side win for the Miami Dolphins. But yeah, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. You know what it is. Fins up. Peace. Hit that like button for me too, please.
Yo. Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Moving the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it Aqua Tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.